Johnny, thanks for joining us this afternoon. How are you?
Good, thanks. I'm not in the Ministry of Defence. I'm in the Cabinet Office. We've taken Veterans Affairs out of the Ministry of Defence.
Apologies, I didn't know that. It was between the two for a while, wasn't it? But now it's fully in the Cabinet Office. Is that right?
Yeah, so we're responsible for delivering and shaping policy. We obviously work closely with our Ministry of Defence colleagues, but veterans are civilians and they need government to work for them.
Of course, and it's really important to remember all our veterans today. What were your thoughts this very solemn occasion, not too far from where you are at the moment, of course, where we remembered those who gave their lives for this country, Johnny?
Yeah, well, obviously it's a privilege to be at the Cenotaph of the King today. Clearly, you remember all those who've paid the ultimate price for the freedoms and privileges we enjoy. I think it's an important moment for the country. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be there to represent the veterans community.
Johnny, this is, of course, a day to reflect, but we are reflecting as well, not just on Remembrance Sunday, but yesterday, Armistice Day. There were, of course, what the Prime Minister has called right-wing thugs who have been arrested, 126 arrests that have happened there. We have perhaps more arrests coming for people in the pro-Palestinian march. 300,000 people went on that march, most of them peaceful, of course, but many of them with very offensive signs, chants, and there's plenty of evidence of that. What do you think will happen now? Because we have a Home Secretary who is at loggerheads, it seems, maybe you don't disagree with that characterisation, with the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police. What do you think happens now?
The honest view of a lot of veterans is that it's pretty frustrating that one weekend a year we have to remember those who serve, to think about veterans, think what it's like to be a veteran in this country at the moment. The behaviours yesterday were unacceptable. I pay tribute to the police and what they had to deal with. But you know, there's nothing extremist on either side about being a veteran and taking, you know, one weekend a year to remember the sacrifice of those who have passed away, but also the ongoing challenge of living with injuries to body and mind in this country. I don't think is too much to ask. So obviously what's happened is disappointing, but the police and everyone's worked hard to get today right. And there's, you know, about 10,000 veterans marching past the Cenotaph now. So it's great to see that.
Johnny, you in your answer there praised the police twice. Rishi Sunak didn't do that earlier. I just wonder if we could perhaps have a look at what Yvette Cooper said earlier this morning on Sky News, and maybe I'll ask you to reflect on what she has said. Perhaps play the clip of Yvette Cooper now.
And I am very concerned that the government made it harder for the police to do their jobs, including both in inflaming tensions, but also undermining confidence and respect in the police exactly when both the Home Secretary and the Prime Minister needed to be backing the police. And I really think they should also be thanking the police for the work they did in very difficult circumstances.
Yvette Cooper there, the Shadow Home Secretary, Johnny Mercer, saying that the government made it harder for the police. Do you agree with her?
Peter, Yvette's a Labour politician. She's there to score political points. Veterans and Remembrance Weekend is not a political event.
But in the events leading up to it, Johnny Mercer...
Together and remember those who served.
Sorry to interrupt you, but in terms of scoring political points, didn't Suella Braverman do that this week in terms of what she was talking about, the policing operation of this weekend? Because...
So, Peter, you'll understand my frustration as to the sort of attempts to kind of politicise remembrance.
I'm not trying to do that, Johnny, but we've reflected on remembrance.
I'm not going to comment on any of that. I think there's veterans coming to London this weekend, some who come once a year, and the police have worked hard to keep it safe. The idea the Prime Minister doesn't support the police is absolutely ridiculous. He's been speaking to them every day, and we're incredibly grateful for what the police service do. But look, this weekend was about veterans and about remembering service, and that's what I'm keen for everyone to focus on.
No, absolutely, and we must focus on that, Johnny, and we have been focusing on that. But of course, there are other events this weekend, and there's context for this as well. I mean, do you believe Suella Braverman supports the police?
Yes, I do. Yeah, she's the Home Secretary and she supports the police.
Will she be the Home Secretary in a week's time, do you think?
How on earth would I know that? I'm sure that that's the Prime Minister. We all serve at the Prime Minister's discretion. If you look at what he's done on veterans affairs in this country, he's completely transformed what it means to be a veteran in this country by appointing me to his cabinet, by empowering me and by resourcing me to change what it means to be a veteran. We've got veterans marching for the first time past the Cenotaph this year after we opened up the application process. I'm just focused on delivering change and what it means to be a veteran in this country. That's what veterans want to see me do, and this is the one weekend a year we can focus on that.
Okay, let's focus on that, and let me ask you something which is something I know that you've done a lot of work on. When I worked in government, I was very focused on homelessness as well. Veterans' homelessness is something that people feel so frustrated about. They see people sometimes on the streets of towns and cities right across the country, and that is something that is so frustrating for many people. There is a housing crisis in this country, there's no doubt about that, but what are you doing as Veterans Minister to try to help those veterans, often with injuries, both physical and mental, to get back into secure housing to make sure that they can have as stable a life as possible, Johnny?
So last year at the beginning of this year, actually, we launched something called Fortitude, which is a single defined pathway out of homelessness for veterans. And we've spent £8.5 million on 910 supported housing placements, built a kind of network across the United Kingdom. I'll be driving around this Christmas trying to find a veteran that is sleeping rough because of a lack of provision. There should not be a single one. Veterans homelessness has gone on far too long in this country. It doesn't take, it's not beyond the wit of man for us all to work together and make sure that we solve this challenge. We don't want to see anyone who serves sleeping rough because of a lack of provision, and that's why we're going to end it with Fortitude this year.
Do you think that that veterans' homelessness can be ended in 1 year? Do you think that's realistic? Obviously, these are issues, and veterans' issues are things that you're going to maintain support and commitment to for some time to come.
So I've fulfilled every one of my commitments as Veterans Minister since I started. Obviously, I've been in and out of government, but I've always got there in the end. And we will get there in the end with veterans homelessness as well.
You're the comeback kid, Johnny. Thank you very much indeed. Johnny Mercer there, reflecting, of course, on Remembrance Day.